Hello everyone, and welcome to this overview, this research poster overview. This is a research poster of a research sort of poster overview on a theme looking at social media, mainstream media to prompt organ transplantation education, and looking at this from a sort of a laboratory medicine or pathology perspective, and in on looking at a pathology perspective in on CKD. This research poster presentation is on behalf of the Renal Patient Support Group, the RPSG. So a bit of intro. With exception to individuals with severe sort of learning difficulties, excuse me, severe learning difficulties and neurological illnesses, which of course are devastating. Which of course are devastating. There has never been or ever never there has never been or existed sort of a human beings who are not aware, not aware, for example, not only of body, not only of body, but also of but also of his or her individuality, and both both physical and spiritual. Human beings are consciously aware of own lives, and it's not through understanding. And it's through understanding of awareness of a consciously constructed self, a consciously constructed self. It is where through awareness a consciously constructed self is identified. The use of social media, the use of social media today offers unparalleled opportunities to provide and offer and receive varying and receive sort of information or access to resources, and access to the resources and through and communication, and interactivity. Both social media and mainstream media, such as television, newspapers, magazines, and radio stations, for example, are also used to prompt in around in around information and or albeit in as much education in around healthcare conditions or healthcare conditions, and healthcare data and healthcare demographics and epidemiology, for example, surrounding additionally in around long-term conditions. These forms of education, or information, been have not been sort of investigated in detail to prompt in around solid organ donation, transplantation, sort of education, and certainly the use of social media is not limited by the constraints of time and geography. Now looking at social media, mainstream media, and healthcare. So social media usage has grown exponentially, now sort of representing 1 in 5 minutes spent online, and where patients and carers and lay public accessing information, combining sort of main issues are relating to in around 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 different aspects of healthcare, but additionally in around aspects pertaining to solid organ transplantation, and through mainstream through sort of through various mainstream media. And so using social media perhaps has several advantages, with sort of the standard forms of mainstream media where healthcare is concerned, but both have advantages and regards to reach, accessibility, and in around awareness, in around awareness resources as resources, and for access to sort of healthcare educational aspects. So using social media versus mainstream media to prompt in around solid organ transplantation education offers sort of broader opportunities, broader opportunities in ways as previously unrealized. One investigation in college students in the United States had demonstrated that social-based communication had one of the sort of the greatest impacts for in around sort of where there was where there have been where the investigation sort of informed of in around college students having, for example, having an awareness in around signing up to different transplantation databases, and described that a social media campaign which used for example social media sort of platforms such as Facebook and YouTube had resulted in around 9,000 documented donor registrations. So within the student organization, the organ donor registration was increased by around just less than 30%. Furthermore, whilst traditional online sites to prompt or promote donation, it resulted in an increase in a request for donor cards and registrations of organ donor cards and registrations. Thus, the use of social media alongside existing sort of media campaigns can be seen to be highly effective. In prompting organ donation, sort of awareness. One long-standing condition that surrounds solid organ transplantation is in around chronic kidney disease, or CKD. So I look at CKD then. CKD is a condition, sort of an irreversible condition, and has been described in amongst the evidence as a sort of a gradual and a usually permanent loss of kidney function or renal function over time. Early in the process, or early in the condition, or as part of the condition and process, individuals with CKD often experience no symptomologies, and for a long time it has been an underdiagnosed condition. Even in the absence of symptoms or symptomologies, CKD appears to add significantly to the burden of primary in around in amongst primary health conditions, and of course and of course in aligned to morbidity. The rate of CKD is increasingly is increasing is increasing globally, leading to a greater need for those for a greater need for solid organ transplantation. Transplantation at the same time is not a cure. It is not as not a cure. However, it is an effect. It is effective. It is effective compared with for example hemodialysis and peritoneal dialysis forms of KRT, kidney replacement therapy, and or renal replacement therapy, KRT or RRT, in the treatment or in the care of this sort of long-standing or long-term condition, and achieves higher prognoses and where there is higher morality. Currently, living kidney transplantation or renal transplantation accounts for about one third of transplants performed in the United Kingdom, and deceased donation or deceased or cadaveric transplantation forming sort of the main source of renal transplantation in some countries, although not where, unfortunately, where in amongst the literature, in more recent literature, that there is a consensus. This high need, the sort of high requirement, but low supply amongst populations, amongst varying populations, presents sort of issues in achieving optimal serum serological and immunological sort of cross matching and tissue types, where these are sort of important sort of components, if you like, in amongst as part of the sort of underlying investigations, where laboratory analysis is concerned, and resulting in patients or recipients, for example, resulting in recipients or patients, for example, in amongst faith communities and non-faith communities, spending an increased time on the solid organ transplantation waiting list, and of course, irrespective of pediatric or young population and or adult healthcare populations. And now look at sort of the aims and objectives of this in around this research poster presentation. So three questions had been put forward. Initially, first question, as part of the sort of aims and objectives: can Muslims donate organs? Secondly, is there an Islamic stance on using social media or mainstream media to prompt organ transplantation education? And thirdly, do healthcare scientists, that is to say, do healthcare scientists from laboratory backgrounds, laboratory specialisms, have a role or a responsibility, providing the lay public sort of education surrounding solid organ transplantation In this, this as part of this research poster presentation, a CKD, chronic kidney disease basis is and forms the forms a example. So now looking at faith sort of aspects pertaining to faith, ethics, and tolerance. So Islamic science, now that is Islamic being from the Muslim, the terminology being from the Muslim faith. So Islamic science has always been holistic. The terminology in which is of recent origin is sort of ambiguous. Sometimes it refers only to the recognition of interdependence between mind and body. If theory relates to holism with reference to the Islamic perspective or the Islamic faith perspective, then really it can only refer to the governing principle of Islam. In context of the governing principle of Islam, that is in amongst the Islamic scholarship, if you like, the Islamic scholarship, the principle of Islam is in regard to Tawheed. That is in regard to where there's a consciousness, a sense of consciousness of knowing, of consciousness of the oneness of God, the oneness of Allah in context of the faith, and the unity that Allah God had created. It is through trials, at the same time, it's through trials and tribulations, humankind, womankind, mature, and Allah, God willing, begin to face sort of realities or circumstances. Trials and tribulations, therefore, free humankind, humankind, from the illusions in which man seeks, in which humankind seeks refuge. Any attempt to study or investigate phenomena, for example, in around solid organ transplantation, without reference to scripture, without reference to scripture, is destined to failure. Because it has fragmented a link with reality. It is also quintessential to note that religious morality sets limits which do not change with passing public opinion. If humankind denies the world around him or her as a self-evident truth, then humankind is also denying that God, Allah, is a self-evident truth. Science at the same time, all sciences have limitations. It is where science have limitations. Science is time bound. It is not timeless, and thus for those within the faith, for example, the scripture, that is the Quran, is referred to as the criterion, or al-Furqan, teaching to where the Quran or scripture teaches to discriminate not only between good and evil, but also between shades of grey and the misnomers which are apparent in daily life. The Quran, or the Furqan, is multi-layered, and it's multifaceted. It is distinct, and it is and has always been for those for Muslims, or for those within the faith, throughout history. a premise or basis for decision making. Now looking at in around the theme of this research poster from a healthcare perspective. An understanding of patient or individual attitudes and towards self management and in line to for example in around social media or mainstream media or tech can inform sort of unbiased can inform biased and unbiased and at the same time patient centric or healthcare centric healthcare centric uh, uh, and towards healthcare centric interventions. Moreover, literature informs that the use of social media in particular, and perhaps more generally, provides a sort of a gateway for knowledge gathering and decision making. Social media also influences tech adaptation or adoption for health and self management and shaping the development for accessing the appropriateness of a social media mediated interventions for recipients and individuals where sharing experiences are involved. Overall, a greater overall a greater greater access through in around health or healthcare through social media in around health or healthcare and through social media and to solid organ transplantation, for example, can help both clinicians can help both clinicians clinicians to clinicians and sort of clinicians in frontline healthcare professionals and other healthcare professionals to to uh, to understand sort of the values and strategies for enhancing both important decisions for decision making and prompting uh, education uh, education for healthcare professionals and policymakers to ensure there is a broader coverage of sensitive and important important topics such as in around solid organ transplantation and through the use of social media or mainstream media, so that the lay public or the public and those from faiths and non-faith populations can make more informed decisions under challenging circumstances. Certainly, social media have or has place, and it's important that such topics are discussed or known to encom or known are discussed or known and that they encompass and such topics encompass sort of faith in amongst faith communities and non-faith communities. In Islam, solid organ transplantation is and from in around for example in around the Islamic jurisprudence, for example, in around Islamic jurisprudence, it is where a solid organ transplantation is allowed, and God informs that for every condition there is a cure, albeit that within the broader aspects of healthcare, there is a cure at least for a while. all sorts of in amongst all sorts of and kinds of sort of conditions. So more educational campaigns through social media or mainstream media involving healthcare professionals and those from faith communities and non-faith communities are required. Those who do not believe, for example, in mercy, who do not believe in mercy or practice it, cannot be expected to be saved by it. In around some of the discussion of this research poster presentation. So using social media perhaps has several advantages compared to traditional forms of mainstream media where healthcare education is concerned. But both have advantages with regard to reach, accessibility, and prompting education. In relating, this is where healthcare professionals have an important role to provide to provide or offer healthcare or health science transparency, and where healthcare professionals could or can sort of opportunities to provide and offer sort of educational basis surrounding sensitive topics within faith and non-faith populations. In amongst sort of the conclusions then, so in relating to the aims and objective and in regard to the questions, first question was initial questions: Can Muslims donate organs? So the answer is yes. Muslims can donate organs, and whilst there are some perceptions on solid organ transplantation where Muslims can't donate or cannot donate, these do not represent the broader Islamic world. A campaign prompting or encouraging the need for increased blood and solid organ transplant, blood donation and solid organ transplantation from faith and non-faith backgrounds had been published in around 2014, 2015, and there is no one faith at the same time that can claim privileged status regarding the complex and challenging questions in and around solid organ transplantation. Secondly, a second question: Is there an Islamic stance on using social media or mainstream media to prompt solid organ transplantation education? So the Islamic stance on the use of either social media or mainstream media would be positive to prompt solid organ transplantation if this helps to increase life expectancy, and if policymakers want to see an increase in solid organ donation or transplantation from the Islamic or Muslim population or faith, and a more inclusive process. NHS trusts at the same time, National Health Service trusts need to involve Muslims or those from the Islamic faith to help inform practice. Specifically, there needs to be further cohesion between those producing policy and Muslim or those from faith communities and faith community involvement. Thirdly, the third question: Do healthcare professionals, including healthcare scientists, for example, do they have a role providing offering the lay public sort of education surrounding solid organ transplantation? The answer is yes. However, more research is required to shed light on what is the most effective approach for healthcare professionals to become proactive surrounding solid organ transplantation for those in amongst the Islamic faith, and for those from Muslim from Muslim faith backgrounds. That draws this research poster presentation to a close. This research poster presentation on social media, mainstream media, to prompt organ transplantation education and a perspective on CKD, chronic kidney disease.